Security personnel who monitor CCTV cameras. What are some of the things you saw on the monitors that you will never forget? When I worked as a regular security officer at my first site, I was put on night shifts. My duties were basically to look inside and outside the building and monitor the CCTV cameras. At night, the cameras don't give a very clear picture. After finishing my outside rounds at 3 a.m., I went inside and looked at one of the cameras, which was in a particularly dark corner of the building. There, I saw a man standing there staring into the camera. He was doing nothing and was all alone. I couldn't make out his facial features because of the poor quality of the image. He was standing still, looking at the camera, not even deviating even a millimeter. Since he hadn't done anything inappropriate yet, I couldn't call the police. I decided to go through the footage to see what time he was there. It turned out that he had jumped out of the bushes right after the camera caught me doing an outdoor patrol. According to the footage, he followed me at first. But when I was out of sight, he stopped, stared at the camera, and stood there until I returned to the control room. When I turned off the DVR and went back to the security camera, he was no longer there. I did not leave the building again that shift until daybreak. In my case, it wasn't on camera, but it was still scary. When I was 17 years old, I worked in security for a 12-story building in Dallas. The entire building was under surveillance, and I had to go into different offices from time to time and check them out. One night, about 3 o'clock, when there was no one in the building but me, I was walking through an office that I rarely visited, and I went into a corner room just to look around, mainly to go to the window and look out over the parking lot. I rarely turned on the lights while looking around, usually just shined a flashlight every now and then. I surveyed the parking lot for a few seconds and turned around to leave the office. My gaze fell on a storage room that had a door handle missing on the door, and right out of that hole, an eye was staring at me. Only after half of the hair on my head turned gray because of fear, and my heart nearly stopped, I realized that the head of the company located in that office had taped a poster on the other side of the door so that the eye could be seen through the hole. To this day, I still hate him for that. I'll reveal a professional secret. If you are a beautiful woman and work in an office building with a pass system and security guards, most likely the male guards know you by name and have probably come up with a nickname for you. And, naturally, are watching you on cameras. As for something I'll never forget, I work security for an office building. Twice I saw women urinating on our property. One was wasted and decided to sit down in the bushes in the middle of the night. The other stopped near the entrance to our parking lot, got out of her car, right under the security camera, and did her business for about 90 seconds in broad daylight. I work the night shift at a hotel and have to watch the security camera monitors from time to time, among other job duties. This hotel isn't even that old, but it has its oddities. Before, I was always freaked out by camera 14 because there were always some shadows there, even though you couldn't see anyone or anything near the camera. Then I realized it was moth shadows. It's an outdoor camera, and that I was an idiot. However, in the last 2 months, there has been a problem with the third camera. It is installed in the pool area. Normally, I barely pay attention to it because the pool is always closed until almost the end of my shift, but the monitor shows images from all the cameras, so it comes into my field of vision. About 2 months ago, I went to the pool to sweep and mop the floor. There was clearly something wrong in the room, but I couldn't figure out what it was. I figured my fatigue was to blame. I often get a little paranoid when I'm tired, but this time I tried to finish things at the pool as quickly as possible. When I went back to the control room to hang up my keys, I looked at the monitor and saw that camera 3 was off altogether. The corresponding section of the screen was bright blue, which meant the camera was off. I just ignored the camera for the rest of the shift. Camera maintenance is not part of my job description, and I don't know how to fix them. In the morning, I told my supervisor about it. She decided to review the footage to see why the camera stopped working. In the footage, she saw that at one point there was some sort of shadow, after which the image disappeared. This didn't alarm us, as it's not uncommon to see shadows from passing cars in the pool at night, but we went to the pool and looked at the camera, and it was as if someone had taken it down. Maybe it fell off by itself, who knows? But after that incident, I stopped liking working at night. A month ago, camera 3 was fixed, but that premise still scares me. 2 weeks ago, I decided to review the images from all the cameras and continue reading the book. I noticed some movement captured by the third camera. I stared at the screen, and after a while, I noticed some dark entity, you can't say it any other way, moving around the room. The third camera does not show the pool door, but I could see the entity moving towards the door. Our hotel is quite small, and although you can't see the pool entrance from the control room, you can hear everything. I heard a very loud bang on the door, and then I saw in the monitor that the entity had moved to the water and sort of dissolved. There's a cat that often wanders outside our hotel. It's a good cat. He loves attention and follows me around when I go to throw out the trash. All summer long, he's been doing it like a schedule. But for the last 2 months, he's been keeping me away from the pool. Well, not that he literally wouldn't let me go, but he clearly didn't want me to go that way, running ahead of me and clinging to my pants. I had to duck to avoid tripping over him. When we approached the pool, one of the garbage cans is across the street from it. He would start hissing and once jumped to the window and literally attacked it. This is very strange for a cat who is usually so calm and cuddly. 2 nights ago, while I was reading, I heard the pool door banging again. I immediately looked at the monitor, but this time there was no shadow, but there was an eye. After that, the camera went off again. That morning, when I went to add bromine to the pool to sanitize the water, the bromine tank literally exploded. I have no idea what it was, or if it was just me being really tired. But this is clearly a very strange place. I was working as a manager of a tobacco store about 10 years ago. A homeless-looking customer started coming in, and he usually bought a couple of packs of cigarettes. It was winter, and I put a table and a couple of chairs in the store because it was one of the few places where smoking was allowed. To be honest, I did it more so that people would buy cigars rather than cigarettes because they were more profitable. He was a perfectly adequate guy, and one day, about a week after he started dropping in on us, he was sitting at a table smoking, and all of a sudden, another customer walked into the store. I don't remember exactly how, but he started insulting and demeaning the tramp. I had to throw him out of the store in the end. This obviously displeased him very much, but I soon forgot about it. A couple more weeks later, he came into the store and stood silently a half-meter away from the counter where I was working. Noticing him, I turned to him. We stared at each other for about a minute, and I finally asked, "Can I help you with something?" He took 1 pack of red cigarettes and walked away. I suspected something wrong and decided to look at the camera footage. The camera that was hanging off to the side of the counter showed him standing in front of me with a revolver in his hand that I couldn't see. The cops soon arrived. I filed a report. They seized the footage, but I don't think it led to anything. Shortly after that, I quit my job as the pay was low anyway. I am currently working the night shift in the data center security service. The work is quite quiet, easy, and there are not many people here. Usually, there are 4 or 5 other employees in the building besides me. Before I moved to the night shift, I used to work 12-hour shifts on weekends, which was a very boring job. Just sitting at a desk, monitoring cameras, and going around the building once an hour. Anyway, one day I was working at night, and I was sitting in front of a monitor at a desk. It was a normal shift, nothing was going on, and I'd glance at the cameras from time to time. Suddenly, something on the monitor caught my attention. I looked up and saw a hovering image of a little girl in one of the dark corridors at the back of the building. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. As I thought about whether or not to go there to see where she came from, I realized I could just scroll through the footage. Rewinded and saw that one of the employees had brought his daughter in, but I didn't see it on the monitor. I exhaled deeply. Another funny thing, one day we had a new camera installed, and the face of the dude who was installing it hung out on the image. It stayed on the monitor all day until the camera was rebooted. It was really funny. I worked security for 2 years when I was in college. We guarded a building where a lot of rich snobs lived. The apartments in this building were worth anywhere from $500,000 to $6 million. One day, when I was monitoring the cameras, I noticed a woman who couldn't get out of the parking lot. She tried to slip her pass into the machine, but stopped too far away from it to reach. So she opened the door to walk over to the machine. As she was getting out, her hand got caught in the seatbelt, and the machine suddenly went slowly forward. The hilarious thing is that when she finally got her arm free, she tried to slow the Jeep down by grabbing its door. But she failed. The car went through the barrier and crashed into the wall as she dragged herself behind it. Over the next few weeks, we showed the video to all the staff until our superiors found out we were bullying one of the residents of the home and confiscated it from us. I am not a security officer, but I work in a restaurant and naturally we have cameras. A few weeks ago, the manager and I were cleaning up the kitchen at the end of the day. When we finished, we went to her office to go through some paperwork. She has a monitor in her office that shows the images from the security cameras, and I was looking at them and noticed a black figure appearing from somewhere around the corner. I called out to the superintendent to look too, and we both stood there, pale with fear, watching, waiting for the figure to move. After about 15 seconds or so, the thing shrank and disappeared. We waited a few minutes and left together. It was so creepy. I work in security for a fairly large bank with many branches all over Europe. I can log in to look at any camera that is in any of our branches, ATMs or deposit boxes. One day, we had an alarm from one of our branches. Nothing was clear on the camera, but I sent a security guard to go to the location, look around, turn off the alarm button, etc. The guard reached the location where he found nothing out of the ordinary. Apparently due to laziness, he didn't even write down the sensor number, just said everything was fine and reset it. Then the guard left, and 10 minutes later, another alarm came in, this time from one of the vaults in the branch. I reconnected to the camera and saw that the light in the safe was on. It comes on automatically, and there were pieces of plaster on the floor. We contacted the police, and they went there with a guard to let them inside. I then saw with the camera that there was an intruder inside. He came in through the roof with a ski mask on his face, set off the first alarm, sprayed the IR detector with paint, and then probably went back to the roof and waited for the security guard to reset the sensor. His mistake was touching one safe with his hand. When the alarm went off, he was forced to leave his lair and walk away. He was never caught.